that's how you vote. Punch the card. But then look at this. After voting, withdraw the ballot card. Inspect it to be sure all holes are cleanly and completely punched out. Remove any loose chads. Look at this word. Any loose chads as illustrated. In other words, it's your responsibility to remove, any loose chads from the ballot. Okay, so as a very responsible citizen, that's our responsibility before we cast the ballot. You have to do this action. But a lot of people didn't remove the chads. As a result, the year 2000 Florida vote conflict had, a very problematic issue to deal with. In other words, let's look at this description. There were about 11,000 votes which were not properly punched through. This introduced a new political vocabulary. If the punch leaves a flap of paper, it is called a hanging chad. If it doesn't break the skin, it produces a pregnant chad or a dimple. Okay, so it's either hanging chad, like this one, it's a hanging chad with a loose flap of paper, or a pregnant chad. You punch, but you didn't punch it through. So this is a pregnant chad. The problem is when you have a ballot which has either a pregnant chad or a hanging chad, are you going to count it as valid or invalid? Well, the problem is they didn't make a decision ahead of time, even though the voters were advised to take out any loose flap of paper. Sometimes they forgot to do so. As a result, people have to decide whether a ballot with a pregnant chad or hanging chad is valid. Okay, that becomes a joke. So now the definition: what is a hole? When you punch a hole, what is a hole? Similar to the Clinton-Lewinsky case, in the Florida vote affair, there seems to have been a measure of awareness that what makes a hole is a crucial question, an answer to which is of utmost political significance. Again, similar to Clinton-Lewinsky case, the pertinent parties argued about the definitions of valid ballots, and some ridiculed the procedure of detailed checking the voting ballots for clear and unclear holes having been punched through. The various parties argued about the similar views of what makes a hole, and thus for what makes a valid vote. That is, some people insisted that only the central, prototypical instantiations of the category, which means ballots clearly punched through, count as members of the category. Others allow for non-central, less prototypical instantiations, okay, to count as members of the category as well. So that's ring a bell, right? It's very similar to what we discussed last week. What is oral sex? Same thing here. What is a hole? Should we punch it through, all the way through? Or can we leave a flap of paper? Or can we make it pregnant like that? What counts as a valid vote? That's another question. So the solution is stick to one working definition. In other words, if they had decided, these pregnant chads or what's the other word? One is pregnant chads, the other is hanging chads. If they decided ahead of time these two categories are invalid, then they would have avoided counting ballots and finally had a big hassle. Okay, again, my point is An essentialist or objectivist definition is unattainable. Just once again, confirm our students' choice. All right, that's our written assignment. Okay, let's take a break for 5 minutes.